Hey friends, recently I rediscovered my childhood affection for paper dolls, and it instantly brought back so many wonderful memories. Today, I thought it would be fun to take a walk down memory lane together as I show you how to create your very own paper doll card. So let's jump right in. To start, I'll be using scrapbook.com mixed media heavyweight paper as the base for my project. For my card base, I started with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, folded it in half, and trimmed it down to create a 5.5 by 8-inch card. The inspiration for this card came from this Julie Nutting stamp set. For today's project, I'll be using the Prima Marketing Julie Nutting Melissa stamp. Julie Nutting created an entire collection of paper doll style rubber stamps featuring different outfits, hairstyles, personalities, and you can still find many of them through various reseller platforms. I've already stamped the doll image onto the same mixed media paper I'll be using for my card base. I stamped the image using VersaFine Clair ink and Nocturne. This will serve as a foundation that all of our paper pieced elements will be layered on. Next, we're going to stamp all of our individual paper piecing elements, starting with the dress. For the dress and accessories, I pulled a few papers from the Crafter's Companion Make and Send card making pad. I'm using this beautiful orange floral paper for the dress and headband, and a soft lavender paper for the bow and shoes. Using the same VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, I'm inking only the dress portion of the stamp and stamping it onto the floral paper. I'll set that aside and repeat the process for the bow, shoes, and headband. While the ink is still wet, I'm sprinkling on some clear embossing powder and heat setting it. Since these papers have a slick finish, the pigment ink takes a little bit longer to dry, so embossing helps lock everything in place and gives us a crisp image to work with. Once everything has cooled, I'll use an X-Acto knife to carefully cut out all of the individual pieces. For the skin, I'm using a sheet that has printed text on it. This could be a dictionary page, recipe page, or any vintage book paper you have on hand. I recently rediscovered this retired chalk set from my childhood, the decorating chalks, and I couldn't wait to use them again. And I'm going to use this to color the skin and hair. Now, to color the skin and hair, I'm creating a watercolor effect by adding a little bit of water to my craft mat and picking up the chalk pigment with a paintbrush. Using the water-resistant VersaFine Clair ink allows me to add water without worrying about the stamped lines bleeding. The chalk dries fairly quickly, which means I can continue layering darker shades to build dimension and depth. Once I'm happy with the coloring, I'll carefully trim out the entire doll using my X-Acto knife. Now that all of my pieces are cut out, it's time to assemble her. I'm using matte medium as both my adhesive and sealant. First, I'll apply a thin layer to the doll base, adhere my colored doll image on top, and then brush another coat over the surface to seal everything together. Next, I'm going to paper piece the dress, bow, headband, and shoes and adhere that onto the doll. With everything adhered, it's time to add some sparkle. I'm using these beautiful topaz colored gems from Dollar Tree and placing them along the off-the-shoulder portion of the dress. Now, even though the gems already have adhesive on the back, I always like adding a little extra glue for peace of mind and making sure that they will be fully secure. I'm also adding a larger gem to the center of the dress bow and a few larger gems to the headband for extra sparkle. To bring the dress to life, I'm adding Stickles and mermaid tail, sunburst, orange slice, and hibiscus, and I basically add it to enhance the flowers that are already present in the dress. The glitter catches the light beautifully and adds so much dimension, so I love using Stickles in different colors to enhance the image that you have. One final detail before we move on to the card assembly, I'm applying glossy accents to her skin, including her face, shoulders, and legs. This gives her a beautiful finished look and subtle shine. Once everything is completely dry, we're ready to build our card. As a reminder, my card base measures 5.5 by 8 inches. I know it's a little bit of an unusual size for a card, but because of the size of the stamp, I wanted to make sure I accommodated that height. From my scrap pile, which you know I love to dig into my scraps, I found this heart pattern paper that worked perfectly for this card. And to add some color and softness and kind of tie in some of the colors that are already in the dress, I'm ink blending around the edges using saltwater taffy, dried marigold, shabby shutters, shaded lilac, and antique linen distress oxides. And I'm just going to adhere that panel to my card base using my tape runner. From the same Crafter's Companion paper pad I used for the dress, there are also coordinating sentiments included, so I'm choosing this one that says, do small things with great love. I love that quote. For the sentiment layer, I use the lavender paper and die cut it using one of the scrapbook.com slim nested stitch scallop rectangle dies. After die cutting, I embossed it with a polka dot embossing folder to create some wonderful texture. To enhance the dimension even more, I'm ink blending around the edges with shaded lilac distress oxide. Once that's complete, I'll adhere the rectangle panel to the card front. And for the sentiment, I'm using the scrapbook.com 1mm foam tape to add a little dimension before attaching it to the card. To really make our paper doll stand out, I'm using 2mm foam tape on the back of the doll before adhering her to the card. Now for the finishing touches. I found these retired K & Company 3D butterfly stickers and thought they were perfect for this design. I'm adding them so they appear to flutter toward the sentiment. And of course, no card would be complete without a few sequins. I'm adding some holographic sequins around the card as well. And here is our finished card. This is honestly one of my favorite cards I've made in a long time. I absolutely love the paper doll and paper piecing techniques, and they brought back so many childhood memories while creating. Even if you don't have this particular stamp, there are plenty of similar paper doll stamps available online, or you can even use reproduction paper doll images and design your own outfits. The possibilities are endless, and I have a feeling you'll be seeing more paper doll projects from me because I've completely fallen back in love with them. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. It truly helps my channel reach other crafters who enjoy these types of projects. I hope you're inspired to create your very own paper doll style cards, and I'll see you all again very soon in my crafty corner. Happy crafting. Bye, friends.